So if I don't feel worthy, right, meaning that I don't feel like I'm good enough, I don't feel like I'm deserving, why would I manifest what I really want? That's counterintuitive. So if I decide that I'm worthy because I say that I'm worthy, and I choose to affirm that I'm worthy, and I choose to affirm that I'm deserving, and I choose to affirm that I'm good enough, and I choose to affirm that I get what I want easily and effortlessly, then I open up a space for that to occur.
Welcome to the Student Loan Podcast.
Here, you'll find practical advice on tackling student loan debt, paying down your higher education expenses,
and inspiring stories about paying off student loans. We're your hosts, Daphne Vanessa
and Shamil Rodriguez.
Please rate, review, and subscribe to the Student Loan Podcast by visiting the Student Loan Podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you find your podcasts.
This is not professional advice, and we speak from our own personal views and opinions.
The Student Loan Podcast is brought to you by Start New, where you can serve your community and get rewarded with tuition and student loan payments. To check out if Start New is on your campus, visit startnew.com. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Student Loan Podcast. Today, we have an interesting guest, Dr. Erica Steele, here to talk to us about the energy of money. So with that, Dr. Steele, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, thank you for having me. I appreciate being here.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in the energy of money.
Yeah, so I would say I have 6 degrees in my field, and they're all in the natural healthcare space. I've been in natural healthcare for over 20 years. I'm in general family practice, and I've treated over 40,000 patients roughly since 2009. And so I've been in the energetic medicine space, but also functional medicine, holistic family practice is my practice. And so how I kind of got into it is I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I bootstrapped my company. So not only did I put myself through, graduate school and all of that, I left my house really early at 16 and really wanted to create a life that I wanted. That was for me. I wanted to really be free from both of my parents and do what I wanted to do my own way and my own terms. And so my fascination with money, obviously being, at that time, poor, right? Because you leave, and I just left with literally a photo ID and not even a photo ID, literally the clothes on my back, no job skills, no nothing. And so you have to kind of figure out how to manifest money pretty quick. And then I went into very risky entrepreneurship, right? Against, my dad's chagrin, and, wanted to become a doctor, but then wanted to become a very obscure type of doctor. So I'm a dual doctorate, but in naturopathy. And so, naturally, I really wanted to kind of walk with faith and learn about how to sustain and support myself. So.
Very cool. And so 6 degrees, my goodness, that's a lot of schooling. Did you carry student loan debt?
Of course. Yes. Yeah, indeed. I mean, 6-figure student loan debt. And I'm about to start my PhD in August. So that'll be my last degree, and it's final. And I kind of, I love school. I'm very passionate about school. And obviously school costs. And so I was very creative in how I paid off my debt and worked through those concepts. And yeah, so of course I had student loan debt. Mm-hmm.
How much student loan debt did you have, and how much have you paid off?
So I think it was over. So I did also a lot of certifications and things like I have over 100 different certifications and different programs. And I did a lot of personal growth and self-development. So I kind of include all of that in there. So I would say probably close to 280, 290 if I kind of had my numbers correct, accurate. I think I'm carrying only about I think around 125 right now, which will be paid off by the end of the year. So
amazing. And in your payoff strategy, have you prioritized interest rates? Have you just used the energy of money? Sort of what strategies have you used to pay off, 6 figures of student loan debt so far?
So the first thing I want to kind of preference is, so debt is not bad nor good, right? It's what we make it mean, right? So debt, from one of the teachers I've learned from, debt is just a decision to pay something over time, right? And so this is going to be a totally illogical strategy, right? But I paid things when I have felt inspired to pay them, right? So I'm going along. And sometimes the weight, right, of the debt is like, and then there's, like I said, an energy or a sensation or a feeling or you know what, I'm done with this. Like I just had that with one of my, undergrad things. It was just like, I was on a payment plan. The payment plan was fine. Everything was good with it. No big deal. And they call me and they're like, well, we could just give you, I don't know, a few $1,000s off or whatever, if you just pay it off. And I go, you know what? Let's do that. Like, I'm just tired. I'm just tired of getting the statements. Like, I don't even want to get these in the mail anymore. Like, I'm done with this. Like I don't want to see this name pop up on any kind of thing anymore. I'm ready to let this go. So it's really about choice. Like, and I do the same thing with my credit card debt too. It'll be like, and I don't have a lot of credit card debt either, but like, I'll go, oh, you know what? I just don't want to carry a balance right now. Like, and then I'll just spontaneously, either I'll create a plan where I break it down. I like halves for some reason. I get a bill and I'm like, okay, I'm going to pay half of that. And then I'm going to pay half of that. And then, and it just kind of whittles it down. And for whatever reason, the halves, I think probably because I was born second day, second month. So 2 is like my number. That it just like feels better. Yeah, it just feels good to me. I don't know why. I only do things that feel good. Like I don't do things because it's the interest rate or the, the whole Dave Ramsey approach that's just too much for me. That's like way too much.
That's so cool. So it's like basically, does it feel good? Very consistent with a lot of the Abraham Hicks teachings, for example, does it feel like it's the right thing to do? Have you ever been in a situation where you felt like you wanted to pay something off, but you didn't have the means to do it yet?
Absolutely. And this one's interesting because so I what is it? What was that? I think it's my doctorate degree, right? So I had like a $2,000 balance, right? And they would not release my diploma, right? And so I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. Right. And so at the same time, so I had my practice and I'm like building my practice and everything's going well. Right. But then I don't have like my paper diplomas, finished all the education, whatever. I found that out because I had a general manager who stole a lot of money from me at the time, right? I've learned a lot about money, that they stole a lot of money from me at the time. And as I was kind of digging myself out of all this crazy, I realized, oh my gosh, exclamation point, my degree has not been paid for, right? And of course, I was going through divorce at the time. And I'm Lifetime television movie on steroids. So, what happened is that I just gave it over. I said, you know what? I think it was how much? It was like $1,800 or something. And I just didn't have it because I'm burying myself out of debt and I'm going through divorce and I've got, all this stuff, right? I'm a single mom, all the things, right? And so I just kind of said, you know what, this is the amount that I need. I'm going to trust and have faith that I'm going to bring it in and it's all going to be good. And I just let it go. Right. And kid you not, this was amazing. I got a check in the mail, literally for maybe $20 over what my balance was. And I remember, and it was totally unexpected. My ex-husband, who never files his taxes, ever filed his taxes, and they took it part of his child support. Right. And so I got the check in the mail, and I remember sitting on the bed bawling, crying, because I was like, oh my gosh, this works. Like, I don't know how it works. I don't need to like listen to like every single Esther Hicks YouTube, whatever. Like, I know totally within my soul that I'm going to be taken care of no matter what the amount is. And so I would say that that was definitely an experience where I wanted to pay something and it got paid off.
Wow, that's amazing. That is seriously amazing. Now, I do have a follow-up question for it because I feel like there are so many different directions to go in on that one. So when you're saying like, it works, right? And a big believer in that concept, but I want to make sure like we're answering like, well, what is it, right? Like, is it the universe? Is it God? Is it like, how do you see it? How do you, spread that message of like, how do you help others see it that way? Because when you're not in the mix or when you're not in the storm, right? It's always so easy to see it from the outside. But when somebody's in the thick of it, like, how are you helping them with that?
So practically on the court, step by step, here's what to do, right? You have to ignore what's happening in your current reality, right? So I don't care how much money you owe. I don't care who's calling. I don't care, I've even been evicted, like possibly evicted and all kinds of stuff, right? Like I've been through it, right? Mm-hmm. You focus on the step you're on or the next step, right? Your persistent thoughts, right? Like you journal these morning, noon, and night. You journal all your fears, right? There's like a deepest fears inventory by Dr. Carolyn Elliott. Please look it up. You write it out, all your fears, like just get them all out, right? Like doesn't matter how irrational, right? And then you look at it and you go, is this ultimately true? Is this ultimately true that I'm going to be starving in the middle of the street and blah, blah, blah? I mean, I could call my dad. I mean, I would literally go starving in the street before I call him. But nonetheless, right? Is this ultimately true? Yes or no? And let's say if I say yes, do I want this to be true? No, obviously not, okay. Right? Mm-hmm, and so if I don't want it to be true, what do I want to be true instead? Well, I want it to be true that money comes easily and effortlessly to me. I want it to be true that all my bills are paid with more to spare and share. I want it to be true that, I have an abundance of money and I'm wealthy and I'm fully supported and I'm just a money magnet. These are the things that I want it to be true, right? So then I data dump. So I have a trash journal where I write down all the trash. And then I have a treasure journal where I write down all the treasure, all the things that I want, right? Right before I go to bed every night, because this is all in the subconscious mind, right before I go to bed every night, I affirm to myself what it is that I want, right? So I want $125,000 to pay off the rest of my student loan debt. And I believe and know, and I declare, declaration is very important. I declare that it's going to be paid off by the end of the year. And I do that. I affirm that to myself and I declare that to myself. And I look in the mirror and I put my hand on my heart and whatever, every single day in the morning and in the night, right before I go to bed, because that's when the subconscious mind is simmering. I also do it right in the morning, right? I also pull up the YouTube and I pull up like a prosperity meditation. Like there's one like large sums of money or whatever. And I play it on low all night long. So my subconscious mind is kind of picking all that up. Right. And then I just wait because the how is not my job. The how is not your job. So you're not there to manipulate and figure out and stress out and, sweat bullets and, donate plasma and God knows what. You're just supposed to believe and know to be true that your vibration is high enough that you are going to attract it. And that's all you do. As simple as that. I know it sounds like ridiculous, but it really is true. It works.
No, I think it's important to emphasize. So do you think you're tapping into one, you've highlighted the subconscious, right? Which is correct me if I'm wrong, right? But the machine that's really running a lot of our I call it higher level programming, right? Yeah. But it's just, it's really just running at a pace that like we just can't keep up with consciously.
Yeah.
Right?
It's the now, software. Are you running? Right. It's running the program. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So now are you saying that this process is going to help you really focus in on what your intention and how you're visualizing the future versus, what you're perceiving right now in the moment?
So what it does, that reticular activating system. So the subconscious mind houses your experiences, perceptions of those experiences, beliefs, and core beliefs, right? It gives the conscious mind its marching orders: logic, voice, reason, and decision-making. So logic, voice, reason, decision-making, and your conscious mind actually has a lot of your defense mechanisms to keep you safe. So it actually blocks you from seeing opportunity that could potentially bring money in easier, right? Especially if you're afraid of money, or you've lived in a poverty mindset, or you're always in lack or victimhood, right? If your subconscious mind, which forms between 0 and 8 years old, is kind of already wired for struggle and victimhood and suffering and, all the things, right? It's going to then communicate to that conscious mind, hey, don't do that. Don't take that job. Don't talk to that person. Don't do this. Don't do that. Right? Because I'm not safe. Right. But when you start to rewire that subconscious mind through affirmation, through visualization, through declaration, now you start to kind of anesthetize that conscious mind, where now it begins to look for those opportunities to bring forth to you, because money is everywhere. I mean, money is literally everywhere. It can fall. Oh my gosh, so crazy. I was driving to DC, and totally out of the blue. I was driving to DC to go buy this like biotechnology device or whatever. I'm like all in the energy thing. So anyway, I'm on my way to go buy this machine, and just out of nowhere, one of my loan companies called me and they said, "Oh, hey, we just looked, and we were looking at your loan and this and that and this and that, and we just realized we could save you a lot of money on your interest rate, and we just want to renew it." Da, da, da. So what actually happened was, right at the end of the day, they lowered my payments, and they put I think it was like $22,000 in my pocket. Right. I was not even expecting that. This was not a thing. I was minding my own business, driving down the road, listening to music, about to go, but that paid for the machine. Right. So you see, we don't ever know where it's going to come from. And the more you try to figure that out, that's that lack mentality. That's that fear. That's the resistance. And that's going to bring up the blocks.
This is so powerful. And it reminds me of, sorry, we have a toddler, so a children's book. But it reminds me of the book, What Would You Do with a Chance? I've been reading that to our daughter at night. And that book literally walks through almost a scenario exactly like you said, where the chance is in front of you. You can walk away from it and ignore it, but you're going to regret missing out on that opportunity. And when you open yourself up to that chance, there are endless possibilities. And it's so important to have these reminders, because when you're in a state of lack, maybe you have overwhelming student loan debt, or you don't know how you're going to pay for tuition this next semester and you're stressed about that, it's easy to retreat into a state of lack. But I'd love to hear from you, just because you have such an expertise in this area. How do you get out of that cycle of, a chance shows up and you almost are suspicious of the chance, but maybe it is just a chance.
So first thing, you have everybody has a relationship with money.
Yeah.
If we visualize money as a person, right? Some of us hide out from that person. We see that person walking down the hall and we run the other way, right? Some people avoid, some people get angry, some people shut down. Whatever you do, right? You have to stop it, right? Because it's not going to work. You can't work on the relationship by not dealing with what's in front of you. And I know that it may be ugly, right? Believe you me. I mean, I left my house with literally not even a high school diploma. I disenrolled myself out of school because my life was crazy. So, when you leave and when you experience that much stress, right? Your number one, your nervous system is totally taxed, right? But number two, all you have left is possibility. And so that's also where the rubber meets the road, where all those feelings and thoughts and ideas and perceptions that come up, that's what goes in your trash journal. If I am afraid to even open up my bank account, I need to write about why I'm afraid to open up my bank account. And then I need to put my big girl pants on and take a deep breath. And I need to open up the damn bank account and look at what's in there, because it's not just going to magically fix itself. I'm going to have to put in the work, whether it's, the affirmations, whether it's the journaling, whether it's the recognition. I have to accept what I have manifested, and nobody else is responsible for that but me. So I have to personally take responsibility for what I've created and what I've manifested in order to change it. I can't just sit around and go, oh my God, this is just going to happen. It's going to fall out of the sky. Come on, get real. We're living on planet Earth. I'm sure it could fall out of the sky, but it hadn't been raining money in a long time. So I don't know, and then you just create an environment, right? So when I was working on my relationship with money, it was like everything. Like I'd have like citrine everywhere and green aventure, all the little stones. And I would get a money tree and I'd kill them. And then I'd, buy new ones. And, I would grow them. And oh my gosh, I paint my toenails like green and gold to remind myself about, I literally just did anything and everything I could do to remind myself about this relationship with money. I would do meditations and I would visualize what money looked like and what she felt like. And I would connect with her and I would talk to her and I would light little green candles. And, it really can be very fun if you choose to, but if you're more committed to your suffering and your drama and your victimhood, then, have at it, I'll meet you on the island once you get it together. But we can manifest anything we want. Like, stop it. We're enlightened. We're in the enlightened era of time. The drama and the trauma is done. We're in a new paradigm.
I love that. And it's hard to get out of that space. We've spoken about that on previous episodes because we get, real messages from people going through it with student loans, whether, they tried to do PSLF and that didn't work out, or they're just in over their heads with the amount of tuition from what they expected. But I agree with you that there's a choice you can make, but it's hard. And so let's go back so that we're all giving like the right advice going forward, because I love this. And I think it would be really important to just include this as a part of what students are hearing. Students are so focused on the tactical, but they don't realize it, like, so important what's going on in your subconscious mind before even getting to the tactical. Totally. So prepare.
Can I clean up a couple things you said?
Yeah. Please do. Yes.
So it's only hard if I say it's hard. I could choose for it to be easy. I could choose for it to come to me. I could choose for these revelations to come to me easily and effortlessly.
Oh, yes. I love that.
I don't have to choose for it to be hard. Screw that. I don't want it to be hard anymore. Nobody needs that. I want easy. I want fun. I want excitement. I want joy. I want just over the top gratitude. That's what I want. And so you have to be willing to allow yourself to really have what you want. And so now that gets into worthiness, right? So if you're a person that as soon as you get money, it is like burning a hole in your pocket and you got to let it go. Like you are like on the Amazon, like burning it up. You are actually struggling with a worthiness issue.
What do you mean by that? Yeah. What do you mean by that?
Meaning that. So we get our self-worth from our mothers. Our mothers teach us our self-worth, right? So if I don't believe, and whatever her self-worth is, it translates to us, right? So let's say our mother did everything else for everybody else and they neglected themselves. That shows us that that's how we establish our worth, is by giving to everybody else and neglecting ourselves, right? So if I don't feel worthy, right, meaning that I don't feel like I'm good enough, I don't feel like I'm deserving, why would I manifest what I really want? That's counterintuitive. So if I decide that I'm worthy because I say that I'm worthy, and I choose to affirm that I'm worthy, and I choose to affirm that I'm deserving, and I choose to affirm that I'm good enough, and I choose to affirm that I get what I want easily and effortlessly, then I open up a space for that to occur.
So it sounds like, and tell me if I'm oversimplifying or not, the perspective, right?
Yeah.
Like the rose-colored glasses that people use, unfortunately, not as a positive term, right? But to me, I see it as a positive term to say that what you're saying is what you decide to see the world as is what will actually start to manifest in your life.
Yes. So a couple of things with that. Your thoughts create your feelings create your actions create your behaviors create your habits create your lifestyle. So that's established. When you see children play, okay, they don't go, I'm going to try to build this Lego set. They don't go, oh my gosh, it's really hard to swing on this swing set. Like, I don't know. There's just so much going on with it. There's like, the swing part and this, and there's all this. They're not doing any of that. They're not doing any of that. But then what happens is life happens, right? Mm-hmm. And we fail and we become afraid. There's what we call, when we're 5 years old, so everything's magical until then. And then we have, a breakdown in reality, a failure, if you will, right? A failure is just a breakdown in performance. And we create a story about that failure because we're making machines. We're so creative. We make up stories all the time about everything and everyone, by the way. And so we make up a story, go, oh my gosh, the world's not safe. The world's not safe. I'm afraid. I need to survive life. And then we go on and whatever we like mine, I had a trauma. And what I did was I have to figure it out. And if I figure it out, then I'll be safe. Well, that's great in business and great as being a doctor, horrible in relationships, horrible, right? And so I had to grow out of it and I had to make a decision. I don't need to figure it out. I'm safe no matter what, right? So when we go back and we're really curious, right? And we wonder, right, what the possibilities are, we begin to challenge the status quo. We begin to challenge those limiting beliefs. We begin to see different possibilities. We begin to see that there's other alternate parallel realities that exist other than the trauma that we have created in this moment.
You're dropping bombs, by the way. I wish.
I was taking notes. I'm taking notes.
If I had the bomb sound from Hot 97, I mean, right now,
I can tell because I stopped talking and it's like still. It's like the processing. It's the processing.
No, because I think you're hitting it on the head. I mean, it's clear that this is like second nature to you, like it's just coming rolling off right off the tongue. But I think it's important because that, as Daphne had mentioned before, our listeners reach out with the being in the mix, I call it, right? Like they're just in the fire. Yep. But what I like that you're saying is that sometimes the fire is what you created in your mind. Right? Yeah. Am I at least going?
Yeah, and your mind and then the feelings and then the realities that exist. But here's the thing, right? This is where resilience comes in. Okay. I would not be able to speak so powerfully if I had not gone through not one fire, right? But like forest fires, like global nuclear disasters. Okay. So like no survivors, like they're wandering around, like looking for life. They've got the whole suits on. Right. And so the thing is that no matter what your current present reality is, you have to believe, and this is where faith comes in. You have to believe without a shadow of a doubt, no matter what, that you're going to get through it. And that's where also your mission and your purpose. See, I always knew I was going to be a doctor, right? From a little girl running around labs. My mom did cancer research for NIH. My stepmom was a geneticist. My dad was in education. I was sitting running around organic chemistry classes when I was like 5 or 6. You can't make this stuff up, right? I always knew I was going to be a doctor, right? From an early age, right? I didn't know how. At first, I didn't know what type of doctor, right? And I researched all the doctors and kind of went through, and that's a whole nother story for a different show. But, the reality is I didn't know the how. I just had the passion and the purpose to do it. Right. And I knew that is the mission that I was here to do. And so if you know your mission and you know your purpose, right, you're unstoppable. The how is never your job. Ever, 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 ever. It's believing in yourself. It's believing in your truth. It's deciding. That's like 90% of it. Deciding that this is what I want and not believing the external sources, right? Because a lot of times people give their power away. They go, oh, this student loan, this bill's coming in and they're going to do, and they make a decision that because some external entity or force said that they can't, then they have to believe it. You have to be a little rebellious. You have to go, you know what? Yeah. I get that. I hear that, but that's not my story.
Wow. And how do you know the difference between that and ego talking? So maybe, my story is that I need to be in 30 under 30, or my story is that I need to be at X level by X time. How do you know that those sort of goals that you have for yourself and demands are not you speaking to your purpose instead of like ego?
Why do we have to complicate it so much? If that's what you want, you can have it. If you want to be in 30 under 30, you can do it. Yeah. If you want to, hit some crazy goal, you can do it. Like there's nothing that says you can't have what you want. So the ego is actually telling you that you can't. And the ego is what's putting in the doubt. The ego is telling you like, you can't really do that. You don't really think you really got that figured out. You really think you're going to be 30 under 30? That's the ego. Your higher self is who says, oh, you're a badass, get it done. That's your higher self. Your higher self can see all possibilities. Your ego is kind of your humanity that sees all the resistance. Because remember, the ego's job is to protect you and keep you safe. But it doesn't see any kind of movement outside of the status quo. We have what we call the pentacle of your success. So there's a certain threshold, right, that you feel comfortable hitting. That's why when people, let's say they get like ridiculous, amounts of money or success or whatever really quickly, they go, oh my gosh, and they sabotage themselves and do something totally like, you're like, what were they thinking? It's because their ego didn't feel comfortable and didn't feel worthy and didn't feel good enough and deserving and all the things that it brought it down to size.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I just have to sit with that thought for a little bit.
Marinate with it.
Marinate in that. No, that's marinate in that for everyone who's listening, because I think that Dr. Steele is really, like we said before, dropping bombs, knowledge bombs right now. Where that I want to like superimpose that knowledge bomb emoji, head exploding on the screen, because it really is. I think you're really helping. I hope we're really helping folks uncover some of the doubts that people have, right? And let's bring it back to student loans, right?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, a lot of times we have a negative stigma. Not we, but there's just that conception that student loans have to be a bad thing, right? They just have to be this negative. And we advocate it to, right, eliminate student loans or pay them down, however you're doing it. But we had a guest on that was like, no, like, let's look at student loans as like the government trusting that you're going to pay it back, or like, they're like, hey, you know what? You want something so badly, just sign here and we'll let you have it.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, any business strategist always says, use somebody else's money. You leverage somebody else's money to get where you need to go.
OPM.
You
Okay.
know,
Right,
I
right.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's like business 101. So why wouldn't I do that? And it's
Mhm.
funny. So I bought a machine not long time ago, probably like 6 months ago, right? It was a medical equipment, right? And I could have paid the machine flat out, right? But I'm going to tell you, this is such a great feeling. So, I go, you know what? Maybe I don't want to take out 65 grand out of my bank account. Maybe I want to leverage somebody else, right? So I leveraged a couple companies and listened to what their offers were. And they, were saying this and saying that, da, da, da. They didn't give me the offer that I wanted, right? So I said, thank you so much for playing. I'm going to be my own bailout. And I bought it outright, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just because it's available doesn't mean you have to, right? It's a choice. Yeah. It's a powerful choice that you make. So and when you make that, it has to feel good. Mm-hmm. If you are feeling stressed signing that loan document, don't sign it. Yeah. Or change your perception on it. Go, you know what? What about this is bringing up fear, anxiety, worry, stress, because you need to get all that cleared out first, right? Before you make that decision, because otherwise what you're doing is you're taking that loan out of fear that you're not going to be able to pay it back. And so guess what? Your wish is my command. You're not going to be able to pay it back because you're literally intending fear. So we're not going to hope that people are going to get the message. We're going to intend that all the people that need to hear this message are going to hear it, and they're going to be touched, moved, and inspired by this experience. And they're going to play it over and over and over and over and over again until they get it. Yeah. Until it starts to become part of their language and their subconscious mind. I looked at, if anybody wrote anything about money, I bought the audiobook. If anything did a seminar, I was at it. Right? Like I didn't care because I wanted to gain so many different people's perspective on this thing called money. You can YouTube all this. I mean, there's tons of people that talk about money. And again, you are your own internal compass. So you know what feels good. You just have to trust yourself. And some of y'all out there do not trust yourselves. You trust your friends. You trust the advisors. The television. You trust your parents. Trust your parents, whatever. Don't trust your parents. I don't care. But you're trusting everybody else but you. And that's where you go wrong. When you abandon yourself, you're always going to leave yourself high and dry by the side of the road with no food, no clothes, no shelter, crying out, I'm the victim. But guess what? You have to save yourself. Nobody's going to come save you. Nobody. We're just messengers. We're just teachers. We're just here sharing information, wisdom. It's your responsibility to pick it up and do something with it.
You can take
here's a good water. No, this is great because I think that moment to pause when someone's about to sign their student loan is really important. And I find that a lot of people have a hard time having difficult conversations, right? And so how does one, Dr. Steele, have that difficult conversation with themselves when they're attempting to actually address the fear, right? Because they may be able to identify the fear, but then they may, like you said, walk away from it or walk past that person walking down the hall. So how, if you don't mind, give some tips that you think would be helpful for someone to have that uncomfortable conversation so they can get through it and onto the other side of that better perspective that you're talking about.
Totally. So it's easy. What do I think about this? Right. More importantly, what do I feel about it? Because if I'm jumping up and down and I'm doing backflips internally and I'm stressed out and my nervous system is a wreck, right? That lets me know that I'm not thinking, that there's some thinking that's not quite working, right? So then I go back to the drawing board. So what is it that I'm telling myself that's driving this reaction? Why, and do I have doubt? Do I have fear? Did my, 5th grade teacher tell me I'm not going to amount to something? Like what is the trash that's in my head that needs to come out, right? And you really want to do a personal inventory on this and be brutally honest. Nobody, like, do it in your closet with the lights off if you're ashamed of sharing. Like, the reality is only you know. Only you. There's nobody else on this planet. We can try to pull, doctors, we can try to pull it out of you. We can try to, arm wrestle you for it, whatever. But at the end of the day, you ultimately know. So if you choose to be honest with yourself, right? And you look at the situation at hand, just take a pen and paper. Actually, what's amazing about taking a pen and paper, old school, is it accesses the subconscious mind. Yes. So you just take a pen and paper and you just start writing, it'll flow, because people are like, I don't know what to write. Oh, yes, you do. You got a lot in there. Got a lot in there. So, you just get in there and you just start writing and writing and writing and writing and writing. And then you get to it where your gas tank is empty. And then you go, okay, now that that's done, right? You look at it. Do I want this to be true? Yes or no? No. I'm going to tear it up. I'm going to burn it. I'm going to let it go. What do I want to be true instead? That I'm going to leverage other people's money, that other people are going to pay me so that I can be fully supported in school. I'm going to relax. All my grades are going to be taken care of because I'm not going to be stressed out about where I'm going to eat, live, etc. I'm going to make smart decisions and bond financially with money so that I'm not overspending. I'm going to stay my ass off Amazon, whatever it is that I do, right? Mm-hmm. In order to ensure that this becomes a possibility energetically.
Yeah. I'm so happy that we went here today, because this is exactly the jumpstart that is needed at the beginning of a semester, right? School year is getting started soon. And, how are we going to handle this semester financially? Do we have student loans taken care of? Did we apply to all the scholarships that we deserve and we're worthy for? I think it's a great time to get in the right mind space so that we're ready for this upcoming semester. I did have a question about the 2 journals, just as a journaling nerd myself. I've been writing in a journal since I was 11, and I never missed a year, but I never wrote in the 2 journals. I always just had, I call them volumes, but these many, many journals, and some of them kind of become scrapbooks, honestly, because I like things. But my question is, where did you get the idea of these are the thoughts that I want to preserve and these are the thoughts that I'm getting rid of? I think that's genius. To me, that's a massive idea that, it's been told to me, for example, my life coach does suggest writing in a journal, erasing, right? It's been told to me, but I don't know, for whatever reason, today, the way that you said it in 2 separate journals, that's really hitting home for me.
Yeah, I downloaded it. God called me and he said, hey, these 2 journals, this works. And then I just ran with it. Yeah. Because when you start to fully trust yourself, you start to listen and you start to hear, and you start to understand and you build that relationship, whatever, it's God to me. It could be creator, it could be nature, whatever, Buddha, it doesn't matter, but you start to, you begin to trust yourself and you build that kind of closer relationship, because once you start to unlock all that trash, right? What happens is you become more sensitive and more open to hearing, right? And you become more intimately close to possibility and your consciousness begins to expand, right? And then it's contagious, because the more positive things that occur, right? I've come a long way since that check, that to pay off my doctorate degree, holy cow. But I remember that like it was yesterday, because that really restored I've always had a strong faith in God, but that restored my faith in myself, because I was like, holy cow. I don't know how I did it, but I know from here on out, God's got my back.
Wow.
That's so
cool.
Yeah. So,
great. It's been amazing. I'm so excited. Sorry, Chanel, I interrupted you.
No. I think you're saying the right things, Daphne, and Dr. Steele, you're killing it. I am really enjoying this episode today, and I feel bad for all the previous guests we've ever had. This episode is really really hitting home. No, because I think we get these, like we had said before, the mindset matters, and that type of topic really, really hits home because that's where it all starts, right? Like it all starts there. So Dr. Steele, before we wrap up today, what I want you to ask you is, how can folks continue on this journey in addition to the tips that you've given? One, what resources do you have for them? Yeah. How can they connect? And then what do you recommend the folks that are starting out on this journey continue to read or research or YouTube, whatever the case may be, so they can get to where you are, right? We want to make sure that folks are really enjoying that success and that peace that you have.
I love it. There's some great books out there. Dr. Joe Dispenza, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself is a good one. He's definitely more of the male track, in my humble opinion. Agreed. And so, from a feminine perspective, I like Amanda Francis. She's amazing. She's Money Mentality Makeover. And she's got tons of free resources on the YouTube. I would say if you love that kind of like protective, like kind of grandfather supportive, like wise counsel, I love Dr. Joseph Murphy, The Power of the Subconscious Mind. I think he's really amazing. If you kind of like trendy stuff, Gabrielle Bernstein, The Universe Has My Back. Those are really good. So everybody has their own spin on it. Everybody's got their own download that they've been given. And so, my vibe is a little bit different than all the rest of them. But, we all have something to offer. And like I said, when I was studying it and literally going through the gauntlet of life, I just like reached out to, I was like, just had to consume everything to be able to disseminate and make it my own. And so I really encourage everybody. I know every single person that's listening to this is going to get to where they want to go if they believe that they can do it. And I'm rooting for each and every one of you.
Yay. That's so awesome. I'm floored. I think there's so much more in terms of relationship and learning that people can get from you, Dr. Steele. Where can people get in touch with you? Where can people learn more?
Yeah. So holisticfamilypracticeva.com is my practice, and Dr. Erica Steele is my media stuff. I'm on all the socials, every single one. Although I haven't been on Pinterest in forever, so don't really hook me up there. But like IG and Facebook, and I'm starting the TikTok. So all over the place. I'm walking this planet. It's very easy to find me. So just Google my name and you'll pop up. I'll pop up. So
I was going to say, so what is it that you want people to, when they're reaching out to you, what can they learn? Is there a program that you have? Is it articles? I want you to
whatever they're vibing on. Yeah. So I don't have, so my goal always, right? I'm a public health educator. I'm here to educate, motivate, inspire people. Right. And so I have absolute faith that whatever it is that I offer that people need, they'll find it. There's no I have tons of online courses. I treat patients, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to leave it up to the consumer because they know themselves better. And I'm no guru, right? I'm just a teacher. So reach out, we'll see what happens. It'll start to challenge your faith a little bit too.
No, this was awesome. I really, I feel engaged. I was low energy coming into this, end of the week, you got everything going on. And I just feel so uplifted, right? Because you reminded me, I just say me personally, that, I am worthy. I should trust myself, believe in the chance. Don't be suspicious of it, Daphne. So many bumps. This was everything that I needed. I thank you. Just selfishly, thank you.
Of course, exactly.
Absolutely. And like you were saying before, Erica, Dr. Steele, this is no, I think the topic of conversation happens when it's supposed to happen, right? Nothing happens by mistake. Everything is intentional, and big believer that God has a plan. So, I really am grateful and appreciative that you have joined us, that you have patience and flexibility.
Yeah.
Super pro. Is there any final message that you want to leave the audience with before we close out?
Just thank you all so much. I'm so humbled to have shared this space and time with you, and I'm super grateful.
Same here. Same here. All right. So everyone, for more information on today's episode, visit thestudentloanpodcast.com/episode 72. That's thestudentloanpodcast.com/episode 72. Thank you.